Hello YouTubers, it's Travis, welcome back to the channel. I have for you today a Crimson Vow Draft. It's a best of 3 win on MTG Arena as you are accustomed to. I think this was a good draft and it was certainly interesting to go through the draft and the gameplay. And it also brought up a discussion that we haven't had on stream in a long time, and I recognize that a lot of my newer viewers, whether it be to stream or to YouTube, may not be aware of how much time I've spent discussing Mulligan theory. So enjoy the draft. There will be conversations about mulligans, when to mulligan, how it affects you. And I'll also mention a specific podcast episode from a long time ago, which I'll have a link for in the description if you'd like to really dive deep into mulligan theory. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoy the draft, and I hope that you will subscribe to the channel. We're getting really close to 1,000 subscribers, so those subscriptions really matter. Thank you, and enjoy. All right, here we go. I like Skullscob a decent amount. I also like Fierce Retribution. I think both of those would be very reasonable picks. Do not care for Demonic Bargain or Boarded Window, and I think the Ouija board is pretty much only for blue-green. So let's give us a soul... Stick up bleh. I talk good. Me take card. Graph Reaver kinda sucksers. Sawblade Slinger kind of rocksers, my boxers. I also appreciate Doom Dissenter and Suppository Scab. Unset that has you stop the game and start another on top of the first. That's not an unset card. That's Charizard, I believe. What's the upside? A 2-mana 3/3? I don't understand why you would want that. Like, if you're doing anything other than curving out with it, it's just a bad card. I can get 3/3s for 3 mana, and there's not a huge difference in limited. But, like, it only ever matters if I can turn to it, and my opponent can't interact with it at all. And then my payoff is I got a cheaper Centaur Courser. Yeah, that's not an unset card, Lyra. That's just a magic card. I don't know quite where we're going yet, but it might be fun. There's an unset game one where you play one under the table. Okay. All right, looks like green is open. So let's do green things. Green blue? Potentially. I'm not usually one for taking the Flourishing Hunter highly. I'm going to here because we believe strongly that green is open and I already have one ramp card. And I'm not quite ready to say, okay, we're green-blue. But one more piece will tell me that. And this also helps cut green from this side. Because I could still quite happily be green-red, green-black, green anything, really. I'll need to get some card advantage from my secondary color. Runebound Wolf is tempting. I think I like this one. I mean, there's some card advantage, eh? There's also a Gluttonous Guest, which I like quite a bit, and a Lantern Bearer, which I like quite a bit. The Lantern Bearer feels like the latest card, but I may also just bias towards green-blue. Because it's amazing. Okay. With the 2 drops covered, I've got enough of these, and wolves are pretty nice to have. The table understands Graph Reaver. This is just not something you take highly, which is fine. I've been relatively happy playing one sharpshooter lately. We're still just green. I don't know exactly what the other color is yet. Might play that, but we're really just green something. Self-mill is a large part of the theme, but it's a graveyard self-mill value deck. I think where we are, we're already pretty interested in the Dormant Grove, so I'm going to take it here. We're still open enough to take whatever we want, and we could splash whatever we want. But Dormant Grove will win you a lot of games, so we'll go with that. I'm very interested in the Weaver. I'm also very interested in the Falconwrath Celebrants. One of the things I said is that we would really need to get card advantage from our second color, and the Celebrants is a ton of card advantage. I don't think I can pass the Celebrants. I'm not 100% to play it, but it's so good. Yeah, all right. I'm now almost 100% to play it. I could also take the pop, but that's not adding things to a need. This is an arbitrarily large creature. Well, it's a coin flippy arbitrarily large creature early. It can be very good, but I've got card advantage coming in red, and I need more interaction, and a Braid is just handing me that. So I think we're going to settle quite nicely into green-red. You can almost count how good your green-red deck is based on how many blood token generators you get, because that's what green-red really wants. Which is kind of sad. You'd think it would be like werewolves and stuff, but this set's all about them vampires, yo. Let's go. White's beginning to show open a little bit. If I need playables, we could go a Flame Breather, but like, it's not going to be good. It's going to be like, oh my god, I have to play something. So I think I'd rather take it in the festivities. I very often have wanted one of these from the sideboard. Lightning Wolf's pretty mediocre, but it is at least something else that would cheapen our werewolf, our Wolfkin Outcast. I'm okay with it. It's an acceptable card. Man, I was happy to see the Sawblade Slinger, and then I saw the Celebrants. Sorry, Slinger. Oh, we're just getting everything I could possibly want. I like how this is working. Our creature suite is very good now. I think I need another 2-drop and we can call it done. Great Snake, thank you for the gift sub. I didn't really think about the Weaver more, Neek, at that point because I've already got a statue and only 2 6-drops to ramp to. And we're not really looking to splash. Okie dokie. I'm feeling very comfortable about all of my decisions. I probably don't need to play any bad cards or medium cards like the Lightning Wolf. Yeah, I'd have been happy with the Slingers, but the Falconwrath Celebrants is just that good. It's literal Mole Drifter. There you go. Creature Suite's good. I can even start picking combat tricks like Witch's Web, which I will want one of. And if we need another 6, we got one. Dominating Vampire's fine. The other statue is potentially finer if I want to splash something, which I currently don't. Like, I want another Wolf Strike or 2 and some solid sideboard cards. Hey, good morning, Timber. I'm not ramping to anything, dude. I think I still take it just in case we want to splash, but it's not making it in the deck. I mean, I would love to play this Alluring Suitor, but I need the interaction here. I think you like 3 mana 3/3s a lot more than I do, Eclipsey. It's fine. Yeah, it's probably close to that. But we've already got 15 creatures that I'm incredibly happy with. I don't need any more creatures. I need interaction. So the reason we're taking the statue there is if I get past a Fierce Retribution or something, I can splash it with this statue. Like, if I want this to be my creature base. We could improve some of them, sure, and probably will. Like, I'm going to find a way to fit the Celebrants in. Cool. It may just be play 16 creatures. I'm very okay playing 4 of these. Which vampire are you talking about? Because there was a rare vampire in one of the packs that was like a 3 mana 3/3. Yeah, it could potentially steal something. Here's another interesting one. I really like these slingers. The rest of the table apparently does not. But I still need the interaction, so I think it's Lacerate Flesh. Doesn't look like we're going to be splashing anything, which is interesting to me. I'm going to take the Wilds, although I think our last card may be a Massive Might or something similar. Could also just play 17 creatures and play this Ridge Wolf and be relatively happy. Yeah, I think if this is the default deck, I can be pretty happy with it. Some argument to take out the Disciple and play the Massive Might. Some argument to take out the Sharpshooter, but I think the Disciple is just there to have enough 2-drops, and we can bring it in if we need it. Rather play Ridge Wolf or Sporeback Wolf. I don't care. We got 6 vampires. We might be able to side this in some matchups where we need it. I don't think there's fundamentally much difference between the cards. Like, slight preference for Ridge Wolf in green-red, just because you're probably able to turn it on a little easier. But most of what you're looking to do with 2-drops is like trade for your opponent's 2-drops, and they both do that just fine. Just taking these for Vault Progress. I'm not going to side in any of that, but I will definitely side this in. This looks like a pretty good deck to me. I love having this many Celebrants. Probably don't need the Wolfkin Outcast, but I with all of my 2-drops being Wolves, I feel like we can probably get the discount on it. Relatively easy, right? Because if I can cast it for 4, it's just great. Yeah, this deck has got a lot going for it. Let's be Anya. To battle! I'm not playing 2 Massive Mights in the main deck. Oh, you're asking would I want to play 2 Massive Mights in the main deck? No. If I had 2 Webs, I would probably play 2 Webs. I don't like Massive Might very much. Web is certainly better than the second Massive Might. Lots of different opinions on that, though. Some other streamer may tell you a different thing, and that's fine. So what else do they have? Interesting. They're repping something to attack with that, and I don't know what it was. Could be an Adamant Will. I was suspecting something like Piercing Light. But I guess Adamant Will's probably your best bet. Yeah, it's got to be Adamant Will. It could also be the Serpentine Ambush. That's fair. I forget about that one sometimes because it's not particularly good. Could be 2 Adamant Wills. So this is going to be 2, 4, 4 power, 5 power. It'll be 5 power, so 3 plus 3 is 6. So I can still keep my slinger. Which I think is worth doing. Could be 2 Adamant Wills. Could even in theory be 3 of them. But you're gonna need to show me the third. Yeah, that's one of the big reasons why I like it more than Massive Might. A very long time ago, tapped creatures did not deal combat damage. This is not that time. But if my opponent's been playing for a long time, they may think that that's still the case. I feel like we're in pretty good shape here. Did that ever work? Try to Mighty Leap a creature post blocks to stop the block. I don't think that ever worked, but I made a ton of stupid plays. Before I came back, every play I ever made was wrong. There's some small chance they have a Wrath, and when it's this free to play around it, I'll play around it. See, that one seems like it should make sense to me, Big Mac. Because, like, Death Touch works with fight spells. What was fancy? I don't know that it was fancy. Damage on the stack always seemed just stupid to me. But I'm glad that there's like the group of people that are, oh, the game was better when damage was on the stack, are gone. Because the game was better when the rules were less obvious. Like that was the whole point, is you can like get free wins because you know the rules better than your opponent. And like, that's not actually playing the game. Not that I'm suggesting that you should let people play poorly and like get away with it, right? But like, it is what it is. We still need one more for the anti-league today. So if you were interested in that and on the fence, this would be the time to sign up. I don't think I actually want to change anything here unless we want to trim down and maybe get another 2-drop in over an expensive card. I kind of think I do. I could take out the Massive Might. This will be fine. All of the details about it are in my Discord, !Discord to check it out, but we're doing basically an old school anti-league where you get 6 packs, play against each other, and play for anti. So the winner will get to take a card from the loser's deck. Ideally, I'll have 8 people playing in it, and I can do commentary while they stream it to Twitch. That's what I've set it up to do. They put me on the play. Interesting. Did those words pronounce differently in some language? Because they don't in mine. I'm sure it's pronounced differently in Finnish. Everything's pronounced differently in Finnish. I suppose it's Annie. I've heard, like, Annie. I wonder if they just block it. The problem is if they do, it might even be worse for me. I'm guessing that's a main deck Sanctify, because I don't see any reason to bring it in against me. I don't think I showed them anything that you would be like, we need Sanctify for this. Yeah, there's a pretty reasonable case to be made for it's actively worse for me if they block with this. So I'm going to hope that their plan was to put it on that Griff Rider and attack. And then we get the block in. If they've got an adamant will to go with it, they probably beat me. But like, there's only so much I can do. I could also just draw a removal spell at any point after that. That's what I'm going to have to do. That is quite the wombo combo. Oop. What's up, Aaron? They have the Adamant Will too. No, they appear not to. Okay. Fair enough. Perhaps I will just be Gurman. They got me. And there you have it. Round 2, fight. Looks all right. I really think I can block it now because I need something to be able to wolf strike with. It's getting more and more awkward, isn't it? They've had quite the curve out. I kind of can't block now. It's incredibly awkward. That's going to have to put us at attack and abrade the Ridge Wolf anyway. Which really sucksers. This is not the order I wanted to do things in, but we're going to try to stabilize and then dig our way out with these dudes. It's like I can't block that thing currently. I can Wolf Strike it next turn. It's a lot of Blinding Geasts. Perhaps too many Blinding Geasts. Hey, good morning, Goddess. How you be? It's Alexis, right? Okay. I'm in danger. I'm in serious danger. We're going to be talking about game 2 here in just a minute. Because this one, ugly. Like, very aggressive blue-red things. With a hair force. So I have a sister that is significantly younger than me, and when she was a little kid, she'd point up in the sky every once in a while and go, "Hairplane!" So it's Hair Force to me now. I don't think there's anything I can draw into that saves us here, but I suppose that's no reason not to look. It's free. That certainly isn't it. I'm going to show them this Massive Might because I'm pretty sure I'm going to take it out. But I'd actively like them to know that I have it. I don't really want that. And I feel like I do want a little bit more early game. I was considering bringing in another Witch's Web too. I should be able to get some value off of a Canopy. I've got enough stuff that dies to in the festivities that I'd really like to have that too. I need to cut one of the Celebrants. I don't want to because this is probably the best card in our deck, but I think that's necessary. Well, yeah, I don't know. I may get too deep sometimes about limited, but like, I know that combat trick's not particularly good against them, so now they have to play around it, and I don't even have it anymore. I don't have a second Witch's Web, or I'd have just been playing it anyway over the Massive Might. I love doing it where I can. I've just not, like, I don't know, we had a long conversation on stream yesterday about what type of stream I want it to be. Because I can get the same win rate that some of the really good players get if I ignore chat entirely and basically pretend like I'm not streaming. And that doesn't appeal to me. But I still remember how to get the edges. I'm just not always capable of it. That's fair. That's fair. I have also suffered from fun deck disease. Ooh, so good. Dead cat. Ooh, dead cat. Truck sauce! I don't know, I feel pressured to win, personally. But probably just because I've tried to, like, brand myself as a streamer who's good at draft. So, like, of course I would. Neat! Nice mana system magic. Insert Hearthstone is more random than MTG now, please. But there's some games you're not going to win. This is a matchup I'm just not going to win. It's Stinky Dinky. So, there is something to the old man complains about Magic thing, and I want to elaborate on what that is briefly. In limited days of yore, where the cards were a little less powerful, where like a 2/3 for a 3 was, I can concede here because like there's no reason to make my opponent sit through this elaboration. So a long time ago, you could keep a two-lander like that pretty reasonable. And this hand was pretty reasonable if we were able to hit a green and it had a 2-drop. Like the hand kind of had a plan for developing. But a long time ago, you had a little bit more time to keep things like that. Because outside of specific rares, you weren't going to get a 3-mana card with 4 power. Like, that just wasn't a thing. And, like, 5-mana 4/4, not really a thing that existed. 5-mana 4/4 that, like, is hard to block and draws you cards. But, like, over time, as the creatures have gotten more powerful, it's just led to more non-games, which is what I occasionally shake my fist about. Like, it is what it is. Like, I can't go through and, like, redesign the cards or whatever. And I think it does lead to sometimes more interesting sets, more interesting gameplay. Like it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does make those decisions about, like, keeping this hand feel more random. It feels like you're playing Candyland more often than it did in the past, just because the games are over quicker. Right? Like, if a game lasts 5 turns versus 10 turns, you're going to make less decisions. I like making more decisions. And you can still sometimes get that in this format, which is why I think I like it so much. You just can't get it with a draw like that. I think that's a particular piece of Magic that has not aged particularly well. And it's something that some sets can fix with, like, a lot of cycling. One more grumpy old man moment. I don't like the fact that sets now that have cycling have to have cycling synergy cards. You could just put cycling on the cards and they'd be good. We don't need Zenith Flares and Astral Slides. Just put cycling on a couple lands. You get more games. But again, old man yells at clouds. Thank you, chat. I think a smoothing mechanic solves it entirely. You don't really need a new mulligan rule, eh? Well, I don't think you do. That doesn't mean you don't. I do too, Alexis, but, like, sadly, I was not consulted. I mean, I want things that are really unlikely to happen. Like, I want a draft playtesting. Not only do I not think, I know. I've done a ton of research about Mulligan. If you'd like to type !Mulligan and listen to an hour-long data dive, you are very welcome to. But the short answer is no. None of the Mulligan changes have had any impact on Limited ever. Sorry, you hit my special. I happen to know. This is my expert place. I know this one. I've spent way too long thinking about Mulligans in Limited. That's the place I do data, is Mulligan math. The very short version of it is, if you never mulligan, you're going to win more games than if you do. Boop. That's kind of incredibly simplistic, but mulliganing is awful in limited. Your win percentage goes down by 10% every time you do it. You need to build your decks with that in mind, and you need to keep way more shakier hands than you think. This does not apply to Constructed at all, or Cube. Cube isn't really limited. But there's times you'll see me keep 2 landers and not get there and not get super tilted or complain, and it's just because I've already done the math. It's incredibly reasonable to keep them. I mean, it's an old podcast, right? That episode, how old is that now? Published in 2017, so that's 5 years ago. So the reason why is in that episode, you could actually go on Magic Online and find the data. MTG Goldfish had done that. So we could look at it pre-London Mulligan, post-London Mulligan, and the Vancouver Mulligan also didn't change it because all you're ever looking for in Limited is land or non-land. That's it. That's all that matters. You're never looking for a specific card. Whereas in Constructed, maybe you need to mulligan so you have your ad nauseum, or you need to have that 1-drop in your mono red deck, whatever, right? You never need anything that specific in Limited. That's just not how it works. So going down a card is so impactful. It's essentially letting your opponent start the game with a divination on the stack, right? Like, you're gonna lose that game. So no matter how you shake it, if you're going down a card, that's the part that matters. Whether you get to look at it first and then decide, or scry it to the top or bottom, it didn't move it at all from what we could tell from those numbers. But that was looking at hundreds of thousands of games. Now, that data is not available anymore, so I can't prove that the latest one didn't change it. But if it did, it didn't change it by enough to matter, in my opinion. What has changed over time is that the creatures have gotten more powerful. So if you don't get there, it looks like you're punished more. It was both on the play and the draw, but it was something like 7% on the play and 8.25% on the draw. But the impact was definitely still there. But the thing I don't think a lot of people get is it looks like you get punished more for not mulliganing and not getting to play out your hands these days. But you were still going to lose the game if you mulliganed, most likely. It just, you feel better about it if you get to throw some cards on the table first. But Magic does not care, math doesn't care how you feel. Like that game earlier where I kept a 2-lander, like, in a time-traveling supercomputer, yes, I would go back and tell myself to mulligan. But there's a lot of things I'd do first with my time machine before I do that, but it's on the list. I'm just saying, in all likelihood, we mulligan and lose too. It's just giving you a more interesting way to lose, which is, I mean, fine, but that's not what I'm looking for. We'll get a truth detector here in a minute about whether or not they have a combat trick. They have one. Good to know. New. Oh, what a tangled two-mana combat trick. Boop. It really doesn't, Ishtari, unless your deck is just garbage. And then it's not the mulligan decision that's the problem, it's that you drafted like an idiot, right? A mulligan is always worse than a bad hand. That's the part that people have trouble wrapping their mind around. And I understand it's difficult. But we can talk more about that in a minute. Let me see if I can win this. So what happens if we swing here? What are the blocks for them? Yeah, sure, send this back. Those don't count. Although I've kept 0 land hands in 1. But like I said, this is a conversation for after the gameplay, if you don't mind. I won a tournament keeping a 1-lander on the play because I knew it was an open deck list tournament. But we will have more conversations about this. I need to figure out what their blocks are if I attack and if there's the potential to have a win. I need to get in 5 damage. If they have 2 blockers, they would block here and here. That means if I just kill a blocker, they're dead, right? It is, but I have to have a second to think about that, you know what I mean? Good evening, Tommy. I can do like a real short review of the mulligan theories, and this deck is probably a decent one to do that with. So I'll do that before we like wrap up this segment. It turns out they were dead. All right, so here's the thing, Ishtari. You're saying, like, don't keep a 0-lander, don't keep a 7-lander. Yep, I'm with you. Keeping those is a recipe for disaster. That's not going anywhere. What I'm talking about is I've sometimes seen streamers who are constructed players who are trying out limited, and they'll look at a hand that doesn't have a 2-drop and be like, well, this doesn't do anything until turn 3, I'll send it back. And that, when I remember distinctly seeing someone do that and then thinking, that's insane. And that's actually what started me down the path of let's think about this and do the math and see the numbers. And it was obvious they were used to looking for specific cards. And they were like, I've drafted an aggro deck. I need to have a 2-drop. And their deck had like 6 2-drops in it, but they didn't draft an aggro deck. They still had like 5s and 6s. But let's take a minute and see if I can construct a hand that you think you should mulligan, but that you shouldn't. Right? So let me see if I can build one for you. So let's say we get 2 mountains, 1 sporeback wolf, 1 spore crawler, 1 massive might, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 belligerent guest, and 1 Wolfkin outcast. Constructed in cube, you can be confident that you'll easily get the card back later. Correct. In normal limited, you want. Does this look like something you would want to mulligan? Again, it's just one of the wolves and one of the guests. I think you would, Cannon. You've been watching me for too long to mulligan that. Yeah, I'm not happy about it either, Alexis, but I'm keeping it, right? Because what can we draw to make this hand good? I've got 8, 9 draws right here. You would want to mull. Okay, well, here's 9 cards that I can draw that are fine. 10, 11, 12. 12 cards out of the rest of the deck are good draws. And like the game's actually decided with your top 10 cards, not your top 7. You just get to see the top 7. So this land really just needs to hit. Honestly, even another mountain isn't a terrible draw with this. Like, think about that for a minute. Your top 3 cards need to have one of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. More cards in your deck are good for you to draw than are bad. Oh, that's it. If you want the deep dive, go listen to the Old Men from Moto episode, You Mulligan Too Much. But the general premise is you should probably not mulligan as often as you do. And of course, a big thank you to my patrons. Thank you, Paul, Punk, Hero, Joe, Jesse, Jacob, Scott, Fasty, Rich, Michael, Brandon, and John. Y'all rock.